I coached a skill cap subscriber for over 1 month straight in order to teach you in this guide how to actually jungle in solo queue. My name's Hex, I'm a multi-season challenger player who's been teaching League of Legends here at Skill Capped for over 10 years. And every time I make a guide, there's always someone who leaves a comment about how what I'm teaching only works in high elo games. That if I were to play in the depths of their elo hell, the teammates would be so bad it would just come down to luck. Fair enough, I thought. So then I started creating guides showing me using those same concepts in all the low elo ranks to help prove it actually works. But when I did that, I'd then get a comment or two about how now it only works because I just have god tier mechanics, so of course I'll win in low ranks no matter what I do. Well, let's be honest, clearly they haven't seen my actual gameplay. Joking aside, I do hear you. You want to see an actual average player apply these concepts and see results. So that's exactly what I set out to do. I found a random skill cap subscriber I'd never talked to before, hopped into Discord, and set out with a simple mission. Let's find out exactly what's holding them back from ranking up higher and then teach them the solutions to fix it. And most importantly, find out if those solutions actually work. And now that's exactly what you're going to discover in today's guide. You'll get to see their progression, the mistakes they make, learn the fixes to those mistakes, and see them then try to apply those lessons. Now, as mentioned, this guide took over a month to create, as it's actually just one part of an entire course we've been building, where you can find the next 6 episodes already live right now for you to watch. It even includes all of the coaching sessions we had, so you too can learn everything that was taught, and the Smurf commentaries, where I then show how to actually apply what was taught in the lesson. This course is still ongoing, meaning each week you'll be able to keep up with the lessons they learn, new obstacles they face, and progress made. This is already over 10 hours of content that you can not only unlock right now, but that will also give you access to our premier 5-chapter jungling course that teaches you from start to finish everything you need to start carrying as a jungler. Pair that with our new champion clear course that teaches you the fastest way to clear on your champion, and you're going to be climbing through the ranks in no time. The best part though is you can try all of this out completely risk-free, since if you don't rank up while actively using skill capped, you'll get your money back. No questions asked. You can unlock all of this right now through the discount you can only get from the link below. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below to get the rank you've always wanted. Alright, so after our first coaching session, it became incredibly clear the first mistake that was holding them back from climbing was how he was balancing farming and ganking. A lot of his ganks, and probably yours too, would end up looking like this. You can see he's ganking mid with 2 camps still alive topside. This eventually results in trading kills where the enemy jungler gets much further ahead. Here, he's ganking topside when he has 2 camps alive. This results in him trading kills as well. And here, he's ganking bot when he has 2 camps alive as well, which then results in trading 2 for 1. So why do I call these mistakes if he's still getting kills? Well, there's a hidden cost to these ganks, the camps you didn't clear. Now, I need you to bear with me. I'm gonna break this down so you fully understand exactly how this works, but I don't want you to worry. You don't have to calculate any of this in game, and I'm gonna simplify everything at the end. So the first thing you need to understand is that when you calculate the gold value of all jungle camps, you're gonna discover the average gold value per camp is 84.5. You'll get about 1 bonus treat every clear, which is an extra 20 gold, so putting the average camp value at 87.83. Let's just round it up to 90 to make it easier. Okay, so now when you gank, it's not guaranteed you get a kill worth 300 gold. You could get the assist instead, worth 150. So you need to realize off 1 takedown, the average gold value you personally generate is 225. Now, I already know what you're thinking. So if 2 camps are worth 180 gold on average, but 1 takedown is worth 225, in what world is farming 2 camps better than ganking? Well, it has to do with a concept you're likely missing called expected value. Expected value just represents the average outcome of a scenario if it were to be repeated many times. Basically, if you make this choice over the next 100 games, what is the average outcome? In League of Legends, we can apply this concept to farming and ganking to evaluate which one is actually more valuable. And thankfully for us, it's pretty simple to calculate. It starts with literally just multiplying the gold value of a choice with the probability of it happening. For farming camps, it's really simple. Remember that earlier clip where he ganks mid instead of farming 2 camps top? Well, 2 camps is worth 180 gold on average. The chances of us farming those camps is literally 100%, so the expected value if we continue farming here is 180 gold. For ganking mid though, it's different. We know the average gold we'll generate on ourselves is 225. However, what's the probability of the gank working? Well, check this out. I made a table showing the value of ganking based on the probability. I want you to notice how at an 80% chance of success, we generate exactly 180 gold, what we said 2 camps is worth. Alright, just one more thing and then we're done. To finish calculating what the gank is worth, we can just deduct the expected value of the alternative choice we could have made, the 180 gold for farming 2 camps. This gives you a table like this. So notice how our gank has to work 80% of the time just for us to break even with farming 2 camps instead. This is the concept the student and almost every jungler I know is missing. In order to gank a lane while your camps are alive, you need to be able to accurately predict that you have an 80% chance for the gank to work just to break even. And this is where the concept of dead time comes in. Dead time is just what we call the period of time after you've cleared all your camps. All your camps are dead and haven't respawned yet, hence the name, dead time. So let's compare that exact same scenario from before, but let's say he's ganking mid here when he has no camps alive. Suddenly, the expected value calculation changes dramatically. Since we don't have to factor in farming as an alternative choice, you can now expect some value from a gank as long as it's above a 0% chance of success. So with this in mind, what I told him was for the first 2 clears of the game, he's now only allowed to gank during his dead time. This wasn't like a hard rule I wanted him to follow forever. It's just so he can truly experience and appreciate the value of dead time. So let's see how this changed things the very next game he played. So he starts out full clearing. What a surprise. No ganks available in his dead time, so he takes the top scuttle and recalls. Heads bot side, takes the scuttle there. Now you can actually see it's pretty hard to break that previous habit. He wants to gank bot while his camps are up, but remembers to go back to clearing. Same struggle at the Raptors. Sees the enemy jungler trying to gank mid and is tempted to counter gank, but he makes sure to continue full clearing. He then shows up at the Void Grubs and a wild Jax appears. Jax has already killed 1 Void Grub, but notice how off just 1 Void Grub kill, he's able to spike level 6, turning the fight in his favor and getting him a solo kill. So this is actually something I specifically taught him. If you do a full clear into taking 2 scuttles into a second full clear, you're always going to hit level 6 off 1 Void Grub kill. If you only get 1 scuttle, you then have to clear the whole Void Grub camp just to hit 6, and if you get no scuttles, like this Jax, you won't hit 6 even if you kill all the Void Grubs. Basically, you need to know junglers get 2 level spikes that lets them potentially bully the enemy jungler. First is off the initial full clear, you'll hit level 4, which means if the enemy jungler didn't full clear, they're still going to be level 3 at the scuttle. Second is while off the second full clear, and Void Grubs where you potentially have a level 6 timing. So it's not just about the expected value you learned about earlier, there's this hidden other value from level spikes. Just a little later into the same game, all his camps are up. He's back to clearing them just as I taught him. At the end, he's in his dead time, so now's the time to look for a gank. Gets an insanely valuable gank since it's in his dead time, into a scuttle, into another gank on mid. Again, this is basically free since we're in our dead time. This gets Aurora's ult and puts pressure. Now let's pause here. He currently has 87 farm at 10 minutes and 35 seconds. That is 8.22 CS per minute. Master plus Lilia's average 7 CS per minute, just to put this into context. At the same time, he has 2 kills and 1 assist. That's 50% kill participation. Same game, just a bit later, back into his next clear. Runs into the enemy Jax trying to invade, and check out how it looks like he's literally smurfing. Makes easy work of Jax into then getting a double kill on the enemy mid. If we pause here, he has 99 CS to Jax's 64, with 5 kills and 1 assist. That's 60% kill participation right now compared to Jax's 22%. Are you starting to see just how powerful the concept of dead time can be? So now you're probably wondering, does that mean I should just be AFK farming every single game? No, absolutely not. But when you do decide to gank lanes, instead of farming camps, it should look something like this, where you're already farming a camp nearby that lane. You then see that lane starts committing to a fight. While this is happening, you drag the camp towards that direction so you can get there faster once you finish killing it. You continue watching the lane looking for them to be overextended, low in health, mobility spell cooldowns used, and then can decide to gank once it's clear the probability of success is really high. Now, remember this chart from earlier showing you the expected value of a gank when you have 2 camps you can farm. Well, the reason we chose 2 camps is because the amount of time the student invested in trying to gank mid was the time it would take to farm those 2 camps he had alive. However, I want you to compare that to the previous gank you just saw. Let's say Lilia shows up, and at this moment, for whatever reason, the gank was no longer good. Malphite showed up earlier to counter, or the enemy bot just ran away earlier, whatever. Well, then the time Lilia invested trying to gank, and then turning around to run back to farm her wolves is much lower. She would have basically gave up around 1 camp of farming in that time. The expected value of a gank, when you're sacrificing 1 camp instead of 2, looks like this, where that break-even point is at a 40% chance of success instead of 80. This is the power of being efficient efficient with your ganks. If we go back to that first clip, this gank isn't nearly as bad if he just turns around after the gank fails at this moment, likely only giving up around 1 camp of farm given the time he used trying to gank. And it's even better if he turned around at this moment when Syndra spotted him, significantly dropping the chances of success, as at this point he really didn't invest any time, likely still able to full clear and hit level 4 in time for the Scuttle spawn. Okay, so fixing the mistake around dead time was a big help, but it became clear that he immediately hit another roadblock right after, the first Scuttle spawn. For example, here he starts the game full clearing and is able to get the Scuttle topside from Karthus. Now, here's the mistake. He's not aware of the importance of double scuttling the enemy when in this position, so he heads topside into recalling and heading back bot. Now, take a look at what Karthus is able to do during this time. Not only get the Scuttle bot side, but then gets an insanely impactful gank bot side during his dead time. So there's a super powerful concept related to the first Scuttle spawn that you must know as a jungler. Here I'm in a Smurf commentary specifically teaching how to play the first Scuttle spawns. So when I take this Scuttle, I'm already pushing it bot side so I can get to the next one as fast as possible. Then I have no interest in fighting Malphite because I know that getting both Scuttles has way more value. Notice how I get to mid before Malphite into then getting bot side before Malphite. When you double Scuttle the enemy jungler, you effectively get ahead 2 camps on them while also being able to gank 2 lanes before them. Now obviously in that game there was no ganks available, but if you go back to the original clip, you can see he had no gank spot either. His bot lane was pushed up. This is what's so important to understand. It's not just about your ganks, it's that you get to block the enemy's ganks as well. If he went for the double Scuttle, then Karthus not only doesn't get the Scuttle bot side, but it also prevents him from ganking his bot lane. And that's not the only benefit. Remember what you learned earlier. If you double Scuttle, you can spike 6 off 1 Void Grub after your second rotation. Okay, so why is understanding the value of the double Scuttle so important? Well, let me show you. Here, he's finishing his full clear, gets the topside Scuttle, has the ability to double Scuttle the enemy, but looks to gank top instead. Gets countered by the enemy's in, and goes from having a huge advantage to being behind. Next game, finishes his full clear, gets the Scuttle, looks to gank top instead of double scuttling, and yeah, once again playing from behind instead of ahead. Different game, full clears, gets the top Scuttle, but now it's a tower dive, unnecessary risk when he has the guaranteed double Scuttle. This one is especially devastating. Makes the correct call to peel off his camps early to counter top, gets a kill into nearly a double kill, now has a great transition to double Scuttle the enemy jungler, but goes for the invade instead, and yeah, once again, we're playing from behind. So now you see just how important it is to know the value of taking 2 Scuttles. And I have some good news. You can actually learn everything you need to know about how to play around these early Scuttles in like 2 minutes. We have a perfect guide on it in chapter 3 of our jungle course. Check it out. All right, now let's get into how to deal with those first Scuttle spawns. This can be a source of a lot of frustration for players, often going for a Scuttle only for none of your teammates to help while the enemy jungler's teammates collapse on you. So let's fix that. There's only 2 scenarios you need to know of. First, if both junglers path away from each other, not much has to be said. Both Scuttles are free for both junglers at the end of their routes. Second, the real problem, when both junglers are pathing in the same direction. You only have 3 options, so it's easy to memorize. Option 1, you check your nearby lanes and they have lane priority. So for example, let's say I'm finishing my route and I see both my top and mid have lane priority. Great, always go for that Scuttle. Of course, if you have a strong 1v1 matchup that you feel you easily win, you can fight regardless if your laners are reacting. Otherwise, here's the trick. Don't just immediately fight the enemy jungler, expecting laners to collapse. Ping early on, and don't commit to any fight if the enemy jungler is contesting you over the Scuttle. You want to wait for your laners to react first, and then start fighting. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, my laners never react even when they have lane priority. Well, if this happens, and you feel that you lose the 1v1 against the enemy jungler, all you have to do is cross through mid and take the opposite Scuttle. This prevents you from being double scuttled by the enemy jungler, as they'll be busy taking a Scuttle on the other side of the map. So, option 1, you have lane priority in both nearby lanes, you always go for it, and if you have a weak matchup, play it slow waiting for them. If they still don't move, head to the other Scuttle. Now option 2, you have lane priority in one nearby lane, but lack it in the other nearby lane. Like this example here, I have lane priority top, but lack lane priority in mid. What do you do then? Well, the trick is to spam pings early on and watch both lanes to see who reacts first while you're doing your last cam. If your top doesn't move, while the enemy mid disappears or starts moving, then you give up the Scuttle. However, if like in this case, you see your teammate is the one reacting first while the enemy isn't moving, well, you go for the Scuttle. As you can see, it makes for for easy kills on the enemy jungler. Now, option 3, what if the enemy was the one to react first, or you simply lack lane priority in both lanes? Well, you want to recall, spend your gold to get an item advantage, and then head to the bot side scuttle. Here's a great example. I'm finishing up my clear and I'm pathing to the same side as the enemy jungler. Despite having lane priority top, I'm lacking it in mid. My top hasn't warded and isn't moving, and Corki disappears from mid, all signs for me to give up this scuttle, so I instantly recall. Now, while the enemy jungler is busy topside, I'm the one with the item advantage since I recalled. This guarantees me the bot side scuttle and prevents me from being double scuttled. You may be wondering, why recall though? Can't we just run straight to the bot scuttle? You can, but it's often better to recall for 2 reasons. First, it lets you rotate from the scuttle to the first camp that's respawning in your second rotation and go straight into your next clear. If you don't recall, the rotation feels horrible since you haven't spent your gold yet, and so you'll be doing your second rotation sitting on a ton of gold, a really bad mistake to avoid. Second, it sets a trap on the enemy jungler. For example, here you can see I'm finishing on my clear, I lack lane priority top, but the enemy is so low it's basically a free kill. The problem is, I have to help my top clear this wave. If I leave him, Zach's just gonna kill him. Because I did all this, Zach is gonna have enough time to get to the scuttle before me and smite it, so I then recall giving up the top scuttle. Here's where the trap comes in. Again, the enemy jungler hasn't recalled, so we have an item advantage. So be on the lookout if they try to gank mid. The counter gank from you hits incredibly hard, with the early item advantage basically guaranteeing it will go well. And there you go. You now have everything you need to form a game plan around the first scuttle spawns. Great, so now you know the game plan he was taught as well. Let's see how it worked for him in his games after he learned this. Here, he's full clearing, he notices he lacks lane priority top, and it even looks like the enemy Riven was starting to move into the river. So he makes the right call and instantly recalls. Now he gets the scuttle bot side, preventing himself from getting double scuttled, and heads into his next clear with 2 amp tomes. Then, at the end of the second clear, he spots Teemo ganking mid. There's 2 great things at work here. First, he gets to counter gank this Teemo in his dead time, which is super efficient. Secondly, he spent his gold on that initial recall, whereas Teemo hasn't recalled yet, so he's up 2 amp tomes right now. And so that's a pretty easy win when you're up 40 ability power in stats. Now, he's taking void grubs in his dead time, and since we made sure to secure at least 1 scuttle, combined with that XP we got from killing Teemo, that means we hit level 6 off 2 void grubs. This completely catches Teemo off guard, and yeah, that's another free kill. Still, there was one big final problem that needed to be solved. In this game, he gets a leash and full clears towards topside. Now, I want you to take a look at when he finishes his clear, 3 minutes and 23 seconds. Here's the Lilia clear we teach on our website. Notice how in this one, we don't even get a leash. Yet, we're able to finish our clear by 3 minutes and 11 seconds. That's 12 seconds faster. The reason I bring this up is that he makes the right call going for this scuttle. He has lane priority in mid and top, but his clear speed is just a little bit too slow, where the enemy gets to the scuttle first and he has no time to wait for his lane priority to kick in. If his clear was just a bit faster, he would have been able to double scuttle the Nocturne, giving him a huge lead. Similar issue here, where he full clears but then doesn't instantly recall. This, combined with a slower clear time, means despite making the right choice in this game, giving up the scuttle, recalling, and heading to the bot scuttle, he still gets double scuttled despite having lane priority bot and being able to easily win that fight if he got there earlier. That's why we created an entire course on mastering your specific champion's jungle clears, since if your clear is too slow, you're not able to generate leads even when you make the right choice. So obviously, I linked him to Lilia clear from the course, and that was no longer an issue moving forward. Now, it's very important for you to understand this next lesson. So here, I'm on a platinum account, so I can teach the concepts you just learned. I'm against a Graves jungle, taking Ignite, I full clear, and as I get top, I have the unfortunate matchup of Smolder versus Pantheon. Yeah, there's no way I'm going for that scuttle. So I recall just like I taught you, back pinging my teammates while I do. I head to the bot side scuttle and look to hit a really efficient gank bot side before I enter into my next clear. We end up getting Ashe's flash. Sweet, back into my next clear I go. And what do you know, by the end of it, my Smolder is about to die, my mid laner has no lane priority, so yeah, once again, I have to recall, this time giving up the void grubs. Naturally, Smolder dies because it's Smolder top against Pantheon. So now we're bot side. This lets me block a gank on my mid laner from the enemy Pantheon. We then get the scuttle there, and remember that Ashe whose flash we got earlier? Well, now we cash in on that, ganking her, setting up 2 kills. And since I have the number advantage from my bot lane, I start Dragon. Graves mistakenly contests, but I have a number advantage, along with being level 6 from farming more efficiently. And yeah, suddenly this game isn't looking so bad. So there's 2 reasons I showed you this. First is that it does not matter how good you are. You can't force a winning early game as a jungler. You have to adapt to what's given to you. Second is that when you do adapt, that often means giving things up in the short term. I had to give up the top scuttle after my first clear, and I gave up void grubs after my second clear. It wasn't until well past 7 minutes in the game before I finally got an opportunity to actually start snowballing. And this is me, the guy in the YouTube video teaching you right now, let alone what it will be like in your own games when you try to do this. What I'm trying to say is a good amount of games you play as a jungler, you're gonna have to be really patient and focus on minimizing losses. Too often, I see junglers I coach force things early on, feeling like if they don't, the game is gonna snowball out of control. But they don't realize the reason the games they're playing are snowballing out of control is because they're forcing things. Sometimes, high-level jungling is literally full clearing, doing a measly little gank on bot into a second full clear, into then finally getting something of value. And believe it or not, I actually won that game despite my top lane Smolder literally intentionally feeding, going 2 and 18. If you want to see how I did it, the full game with commentary is live right now in our companion course for this guide, where we also have the next 6 episodes already live for you to watch. I go over how to play around the early objectives like dragons, Rift Herald, and Void Grubs, the specific techniques to use that makes using your camera to check lanes way easier, how and why you should be playing fight slow, the macro concept of on-map, off-map that makes your mid to late game way stronger and easier to play, along with a specific macro tactic in the mid game you must use if you want to climb, and how you should be playing around Baron past 20 minutes if you want to win more games. You'll even unlock all the coaching sessions that teach way more than I can in this one guide alone, and the Smurf commentaries, where I then show you how to apply what was coached in real time. This is over 10 hours of content that you can not only unlock right now, but that will also give you access to our premier 5-chapter jungling course that teaches you from start to finish everything you need to start carrying as a jungler. Pair that with our new champion clear course that teaches you the fastest way to clear on your champion, and you're going to be climbing through the ranks in no time. The best part, you can try all of this out completely risk-free, since if you don't rank up while actively using skill capped, you'll get your money back, no questions asked. You can unlock all of this right now through the discount you can only get from the link below. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below to get the rank you've always wanted. Alright, and that will do it for this one. We here at Skill Capped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.